are some of the example cakes that they had out. So one of the ones they do is a Pluto. They also do a Minnie Mouse, so this has like white polka dots on it. This is a Mickey Mouse. It actually has a chocolate cake in the inside. This is after the Mickey ice cream bar. This is actually the person who did our cake class made that one. And this last one is Donald. Now these are the ingredients that they use when making the class. So just like kind of examples of what we're going to use to make our cake. This is the example cake that we're going off of. It is a bumblebee. It is a little bit more matte finish than what ours will be, but it's very cool to see the example. So these are some of the options of other desserts that they have. I know I'm kind of going fast through this, but these are the other options. Is kind of a macaroons they have. They have different little cakes, little desserts. They have like mousses. Definitely some awesome things. It was really cool to watch them make the different things. They were making them in the background while we were doing our class. So now this is the cake. It's kind of a little dome shape. And on this, we are going to pour glaçage. And it is like a jelly, almost liquid is what I call it. Once it sets and turns into a jelly, we're going to end up doing this 3 different times. This is the first layer that we're pouring on it. And each time in between, they have to take it and they put it into the freezer or fridge or something to let it kind of cool. So you can pour another layer on it. It doesn't get any darker no matter how much you pour. It's liquid right now. So this is already pre-buttercreamed, and now we're going to take it and we're going to pour this on it. I think it was really weird pouring it on. It definitely was a different consistency. See how it kind of looks like almost like a puddingy, like it's a little thick, but it does pour pretty well like a liquid. We just tried to work to cover every side of it and wanted to make sure it looked as even as possible. And then they were going to take our cake away. Now this is the ears and stingers, and we're taking like a little, I think it's like, this is white chocolate, and we're covering it with some like, it's not paint, it's I think it's like a water or sugar mixture kind of thing, and we are covering up our ears. I'm covering them in white, and then I'm going to take the stinger and the antennas, and I'm going to cover those in the same thing but a black version of it, and that will be used later. We're actually going to also do 2 coats of this. So now I'm taking the different ones and covering the antennas and the stinger as much as I can. You want to make sure they look dark, even though we were doing a second layer. Trying to do our best to cover those up. I definitely thought this was cool that you were making everything. They had the chocolate pre-done, but we still got to paint the color on it. I like that it's not like pre-colored, which I thought was really cool. So this is now the second layer of glaçage that we're going to be putting on this. So it just got up and poured as much as you can on. The thicker you pour it, the better. You just want to pour it all so that it covers it all evenly, and then it drips through the container. I did think this experience was really cool trying to do this. It's just a different way to cover a cake. And now we're putting the second coat onto our wings and our stingers. This time my mom's helping me paint some of them. We had to clean off the brushes, and then we made sure to cover everything up on both of them. So now we just finished covering both of the wings up, and now we're waiting for the black to do that. And now we are finishing covering the black on the stingers and the stingers and the antenna. Just trying to finish that up. Those will eventually then go into our cake. I did think also this, the cake decorating experience was really fun. We got to try new techniques. Very interesting to see how they make it. I thought a lot of this was more pre-made, pre-done, but it is interesting. I thought a lot of it was also fondant, but it's not. It's chocolate. There is fondant later, but this was super awesome to see, and I really did like the cake itself. So this is now the final layer of glaçage. Third and final layer. They will take the cake back one more time to put in the freezer after this to let it harden. It becomes like a jelly outside. You can almost like peel it off. If you ever had the mousse in Pandora, that's kind of what's on top of that same consistency. Just tried to get everything, make sure there was no bubbles. I think we ended up with a little bubble that we just popped out later. But super awesome, very cool to have, just watching it all drained out. Super awesome experience, and really in like the yellow color, it's hard to make some different colors in it because it is like a white thing that it starts with and then doesn't come very darker. So now we're going to work with the fondant, and we're using the fondant and just a dash of water to make the eyes. So this is the eyes. They're white, and then they have I think it's white, black, and then a white dot, 2 white dots in the middle. So we used the straw, and on one side of the straw it was a circle, and we used that to cut out the thing, and then we used some water to kind of mend them together like a glue. So right now I'm cutting out the holes in the fondant just to get, and I'm using the end of the paintbrush to push them out. And then I'm going to use that with some water onto the white and putting those on almost like a little sticker. And then I put the white right onto the black pieces to have the little pupils, which I thought were super cool. Definitely awesome way to make eyes. Very fun experience to try and do that. I did get a little extra black, but we solved that later with some of the white like paint stuff that we use. We kind of fixed our eye up that way. This was very awesome. The flower that was made out of fondant was already made, so we didn't have to make that. So we just kind of made this part of it and finished up the eyes to use later to put on our cake. So now we are taking the cake and we are putting it onto the tray. This way it's easier. We can spin it around on the little tray. So we had to use the little like knives to separate it from the pan and take it, and it is on a piece of cardboard, and we're taking that and sticking it on those 2 little stickers that is on that tray. It was hard to get a grip of it. You almost had to like walk, once you got it up off of, like separated from the grate, you had to walk your fingers underneath it and then walk your fingers out from underneath it when you were putting it on. You just wanted to make sure that you didn't touch it that much because you didn't want to ruin the look of the glissage. But so I just walked my fingers underneath and I placed it on that. Just wanted to be very careful when doing this. Make sure that everything worked smoothly, so we kind of just stuck it on and placed it on, and eventually it kind of did gravity, pulled it down. It wasn't fully stuck to the stickers right away. So now we are taking, the camera kind of knocked over. We are taking a strip of fondant and we are putting it on top of the bee. This is going to be the stripe of the bee. So the bee has 2 stripes on it. So this is one stripe, you just kind of place it down. And then we're going to take the bigger stripe and also put that. We did try to clean off everything, so we kind of cleaned it off on the edges, and then we also later took a paintbrush, and I'll explain that more, and wiped it all off because it did have like a powder on it. So then we took a second stripe and we had to measure out with our thumb how far down to go for the second stripe. So we took it and we did a second stripe on the bumblebee. This is kind of the back stripe. I measured it out, and then this one kind of went diagonally down. They did overlap a little bit, which is kind of what you wanted. And we used that, so it did have a bigger gap than the example, but that was good for later when we had to we decided to put our hidden Mickey on it. So now we're cleaning off all the powder. It had like almost like a flower on it, so we wiped off a ton of the flour so that it actually looked more black than gray. When they originally gave it to us, they looked very gray. So yeah, this was actually really fun. I did end up eating the fondant a little bit later, which I actually thought was very good. It had a marshmallow taste to it, which some people don't like fondant, but the fondant that they have there was very delicious. So that's what our bumblebee looks like so far. It just has stripes. And now we're almost taking like a roll-up version of it, and we're spinning the tray and putting on the bottom stripe. So this kind of covers up any issues that we would have on the bottom of our cake. Just kind of goes around the bottom, covers up the sides, and then eventually when we get to the end, we will cut it off just to kind of make a nice solid line at the end. So they come over and we're still cleaning it off, and then she's going to come over and cut it off. Super awesome. So cleaned up all the flour on that. I'm now tasting it. I did like the flavor of it, and thought this was an awesome way to just try fondant and try some of these different things. These are things that I probably would never have thought to put on a cake, but just to try and have the experience of trying it at this situation was very awesome. So now our time is to put in the different places. So we have to put in the eyes, the wings, the antenna, all those different things. We have to put all those on. So I'm just measuring out where I want to put them, and we're putting on eye number 1. And then I'm going to measure out the next one and put on eye number 2. I did do this very slowly. This is playing in fast speed, but did it as slow as I could. Wanted to make sure everything looked the way I wanted it to look. So then we decided to put on the 2 wings. So hold them by the popsicle sticks, and then made sure they were even with the eyes, and just poke them right through You had to just get through the jelly material, and then once you did that and got into the cake, they kind of sat nicely onto the wings. I think it's coming along great so far. So now we are putting in the antennae, I think. So changing gloves, you want to change gloves between the white and the black just so that you didn't get anything on the other one. So I'm currently switching my gloves, and I'm going to put on the different antennae and stinger. So we're putting in the stinger. I used, there was a little like other side of the straw that was bent. We used that to pop a hole in the back of the cake and to put everything in. So we did that, and now just want to be quick because it is chocolate, and chocolate does melt as it's in your hand. So using the straw again, I poked a hole for both of the two antennae and get those two in. So poking the hole out of the glissage and into the cake even a little bit, and then we stuck in the two antennae. Wanted to make sure that they were even, so I put one in, then I put the other one in, and then I kind of pushed them both down so that they looked even. So there's our bee so far. And now we decided that we were going to put on the little eyelashes. So my mom went in and did these, put in the different ones. So we did 3 on each side. So we started with 1 on each, and then we went back in after and made sure that they were even. So we did 1 on the middle, then we did the 2 outsides. We did end up breaking one of the eyelashes, so we had to get an extra one, just because it broke as we were putting it in. So we'll have to get an extra one to put in. So I made sure that we were both even on each side. They are little fragile pieces of chocolate, so it's easy to break. And then finally, after I made sure they were even, I went through and kind of made sure they looked the way I thought they should. And we put on the white or pink flour. So I decided to put that on the left side of the cake, placing that on gently. And then that is what our cake looks like. We also then took the extra fondant that we had, and I cut out a nice little hidden Mickey. And using that hidden Mickey, we decided to put that right between the wings. And this is when we used a little bit of the white paint just to cover up the eye a little bit, because some of the black from the fondant had gotten on the white part of the eye. And finishing off with the hidden Mickey out of fondant, we decided that was what we wanted to do. I cut out 2 little things from a straw, and then I made a bigger circle, and we put in the pieces to make a nice little hidden Mickey. I did think this was a cute little touch. You didn't have to do this. It wasn't like what the parts they gave you, but I used it we actually cleaned off the top of the marker to get the fitting for the hidden Mickey. I know there might be chemicals in it, but it's okay. I don't think we ended up eating it just because we had so much extra cake left over. We ate a lot of the inside of the cake and left a lot of the outside just out. And finally, that is kind of what we did to finish our cake. So I'm going to just show you the final product of what our cake looks like. So spin it around. There's the hidden Mickey. We have the stinger on it. And we spin it all the way around, and there's the front. So yeah, I thought this was a super awesome experience. It definitely gave me a new way to open it. It came in this nice little hat box that you could pull off the cover, and then when you opened it up, you just undid this little twist tie and slid it open, and it was on a piece of cardboard, but this is what it came with. It also came with a couple chocolate chip cookies and a couple Macaroons, and a nice little card from them, which was super awesome, very cool experience. And you could also buy some goodies in the bake shop before it opened if you wanted to. So there's the Macaroons and the chocolate chip cookies that it came with. And then this is what the inside of our cake looked like. So cutting it open, it's a lemon cake with I think it was either raspberry jelly, and then it had the buttercream on the inside and a raspberry little beads on the inside. So as I cut it open, you'll see those. I just wanted to talk about the experience as a whole. I did enjoy it. I thought it was a great time. Definitely enjoyed meeting the people at it. It was an all-girls class. We didn't end up having any guys in the class. It just ended up being a lot of mother-daughter groups, which I thought was super awesome, and definitely something I would do again. This was the specialty one. They do a Disney character on some days, and they do on the other days they do a specialty one. So sometimes it's a character like this. They did a Bumblebee because it was springtime. They've done Christmas themed ones and a lot of other different ones, but it was super awesome, and I'd highly recommend it if you want to check it out.